If you are just joining us, Donald Trump has dropped the anti-weaponization fund. That's the breaking news from the White House, according to Jackie Alimony, who confirmed this news, first reported by Axios. No word, though, on the IRS part of it, whether Donald Trump will still continue with his IRS settlement that indemnifies him from a tax audit and his family and his businesses. Lisa Rubin, you are still with us.
I am.
DOJ responding yet?
DOJ is responding, and through our colleague Dan Mangan at CNBC, they provided the following statement. The Department of Justice disagrees strongly with the decision on the anti-weaponization fund put forth by the United States District Court judge and the Eastern District of Virginia, wherein the court stated that under no circumstances may the Department of Justice proceed with the anti-weaponization fund. They say this fund was open to anybody who was so weaponized, targeted, or persecuted, whether they were Democrat, Republican, conservative, independent, or otherwise. The department will abide by the court's ruling. And Katie, there, I want to flag the court's ruling was only meant to be temporary. It exists through June 12th, the same day that the court scheduled a hearing on this. So for the DOJ to put out a statement making it seem as if for time immemorial, some court has blocked this is really misleading. A, it was temporary. B, it was potentially appealable. And of course, they have a brief due on Friday. If they don't like this opinion, they have a method for contesting it. And yet they seem as if they're telling the American people, there's nothing for us to do here. We're going to abide by the court's ruling.
That's so interesting. The timing of it, again, skeptical in the beginning when Donald Trump first dropped this case. He was only 2 days out from having to present arguments about why it was a real case and not kind of a made-up case that he presented to the Mirror saying, I would like money from you, and the Mirror was going to respond. So when we're talking about timing, that was part of what those judges were bringing up as well, and that's regarding the IRS settlement, right?
Well, it's regarding both of them.
Both parts.
Because Trump is using his prior lawsuit against the IRS, which had to do, by the way, with the leak of his tax-related information. He has used that as sort of the nucleus for this settlement, which has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not his tax-related information was leaked, right? So in that case, what those judges came forward to say is both the anti-weaponization fund's creation and the end of all tax-related liability for the president, his family, his companies, both of those things happened after he dismissed the case and told you he was doing it with prejudice. He did that to deprive you of any judicial oversight or knowledge of these settlements, and that in and of itself constituted a fraud on the court.
It's interesting. Rick, what do you think of all this?
You know, the big picture is he was extorting his own government, right? The head of the executive branch is suing another branch for the executive branch. He extorted them to get the thing he wanted. There was a fantastic New York Times story yesterday or the day before, which said that his reason he did this originally, what he wanted was for the IRS to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars. The fact that the Justice Department lawyers said, hey, would be insane for the president to be paid. Let's figure out something that's going to be a little bit more palatable. Turns out it wasn't very palatable, that the American public don't like the idea of taxpayer money being paid to Donald Trump's allies. But what he originally wanted was the government to pay him money. And so this goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Katie. The American public is seeing and voters are seeing what the president's priorities are in his second term.
Yeah.
These vanity projects, making money. It's not about anything that the public is actually concerned about. It's not about health care. It's not about education. It's not about gas prices. It's about all these other projects. And that's why his popularity is so low.
Pushing back on the way the DOJ characterized this, that this is, anybody can apply for it. And it's about Democrats, Republicans, Independents, anyone who felt like they were weaponized, the government was weaponized against them. That's all good and well to say. But this fund ran out basically the day Donald Trump gets out of office. It runs out at the end of his term. So it's not like a fund that can transfer over to the next president and they can use it to pay out other lawsuits that were brought. You can imagine a scenario where Hunter Biden, as they suggested, applies for it, or Andrew McCabe applies for it, as he suggested he might, or James Comey would. But James Comey, they're currently prosecuting, so they're never going to pay out a claim to James Comey. So on the face of it, their words say something, but the actions and the intent behind it, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't buy it from a straighter government than Donald Trump's. And also the people that were already applying for it, Enrique Tarrio, Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, does the administration, do Republicans really want to stand by and watch folks like that get paid out with taxpayer dollars, especially in this economy. Here's a question for you, David French. Now that this is gone, at least for now, the weaponization fund, not hanging over Republicans' heads, can they turn things around come November?
Can they? Well, I'm going to say that it's impossible. I'm going to say that there are no indications that they are, and there's no indication that they have a viable plan to. And instead, I think the indications are that they want to try to win in November by running the playbook from 2024. It was a playbook that obviously worked in 2024, but I wonder how long it will work, because it appears as if they're going to run by saying the Democrats are woke and weak, that this is the playbook. Democrats are woke and weak. Whatever beef you have with us, the Democrats are worse. And if that's the only sales pitch that you have, there was an interesting clip I saw of a debate recently between a MAGA person and what looked like a student. And the student asked the MAGA commentator, name the economic indicator that is better since Donald Trump took office. It's not unemployment. It's not inflation. It's not debt. It's not growth. All of these things are doing worse since Donald Trump took office. So how do you reverse that in just a few months? I don't think there's a real way to do it. I think this might be one of the reasons why he has seemed so intent on reaching even a very bad deal with the Iranians. He's hoping that there can be a decrease in gas prices or some ease off in inflation. But to change the fundamental dynamics of the race with your only play in the playbook is the Democrats are woke and weak, I'm not seeing how that's going to work.
I mean, they have the stock market, Mark, but even on the stock market, people are not, they don't feel confident that it's going to stay as high as it is. Everyone's worried about a crash.
Well, I mean, I guess technically, I mean, is that an economic indicator? Maybe that's something that defenders of this administration's economic stewardship could point to. But I think the larger thing here is, I mean, to sort of David's point, yes, they are sort of trying to maybe theoretically operate from the 2024 playbook of Democrats being woke and weak and James Tallarico being, you know, transgender, whatever they're saying. They're not even focused on that, though. I mean, Donald Trump is focused on his own personal grievances, his vanity projects, the ballroom. So I guess now that the anti-weaponization thing is gone for a while, now they can just all focus on the ballroom. I mean, we are so many streams removed from what people elected him to be running on or to be governing on. And again, if you go back to the war, even, which is a big substantive mess, that is not popular either. And it's not something that Republicans want to be talking about.